of Dale C. Bronner.
Every time that your life grows to another level, you must exit your comfort zone. You must get out of your comfort zone. And so when you're out of that comfort zone, it gives your life the potential to expand, to grow, because you come through challenge and controversy, and that allows you to expand and to grow. God has to expand our horizon. So he's helping us. He's with us. God is for you, and God is in you. Some wisdom is gained by being around and imitating wise people. Proverbs chapter 13 and verse 20 says that he that walks with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools will be destroyed. Now, you know what that is saying to us? May I just give you the Brunner version of that? If you're with a fool, you're going to have a great time. But they're going to spend all your money, eat up all your food. You will have a great time, though. I'm just telling you, if you got any friends that are fools, you will have a great time with them. But it'll leave you broke, busted, and disgusted in the long run. But if you'll learn to walk with wise people, you don't have to start off with wisdom. You only have to have enough sense to get around wise people. Observe how they invest their time. Observe how they relate to their spouse. Observe what they eat, how they eat, when they eat, how much they eat. Observe what they do and what they don't do. Observe what they invest in and what they don't invest in. You get around them, and your life will change by simply witnessing them and then imitating them, because whatever you admire, you will subconsciously imitate. And so if you get around them, you'll realize that your life today is about the sum total of 5 people who really influence you. That's why you have to guard your inner circle, because these people influence how you think, what you say. If all of your mentors are cussers, guess what you'll do? Isaiah said that I'm a man of unclean lips because I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. And so when other folks are negative talkers, putting folks down, criticizing, fault finding, backbiting, guess what you'll do? Because that's what you knew. So men, when you're trying to check a woman out, you better check out and see how her mama talks. Because she's been looking up to her mama, and if her mother doesn't know how to affirm a man, but to criticize him and to tear him down and to fault fight and to put down the baby daddy, you better watch out, because homegirl has been trained for a number of years. She may be cute and her hair might be sharp, but she will take that razor in her mouth and slice you to pieces. And all of the men said, oh, it's on now. It is on. It is on. But some wisdom is gained through experience. It's gained through experience. But let me just tell you this, a missed opportunity doesn't diminish you, because you really can't lose what you've never owned. So don't just think that because you missed that opportunity that it diminished you. No, it didn't diminish you, it just kept you at the same level. You're not diminished through missed opportunities, because you can't lose what you never owned. Have you ever noticed this, that sometimes divine wisdom does not make human sense? It really doesn't. I mean, divine wisdom does not make human sense. I mean, you know, the kingdom of God operates on principles that are opposite of the world. The world is a dog-eat-dog word that says get all you can all you get. And God says give and then you'll get. I mean, what's up with that? I mean, his thing, the world says, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, but God says love your enemies. Do good to those, who persecute you. Pray for those who persecute you and despitefully use you. God takes a different approach. And so divine wisdom does not always make human sense to us. It's amazing how God can prepare a table before us in the presence of our enemies. It's very interesting. When he prepares a table before you in the presence of your enemies, when I say that, most people immediately start thinking about particular names and faces of people who are haters in our life and who've given us a hard time. But maybe God is saying to you that I will prepare a table and I will bless you right in the presence of your enemies. I won't wait until your enemies are all gone and all settled and obliterated from your life. I will prepare a table before you right in the presence of your enemies. The enemy of self-doubt, the enemy of low self-esteem, the enemy of fear, the enemy of discouragement, the enemy, you see, that comes into your life of jealousy, of envy, of resentment, of bitterness, the enemy of self-hatred. I'll come right into your life, right in the presence of these enemies that are always feeling insecure and inadequate and full of shame over what happened to you. Guilt is over what you did. Shame is over who you are. And you've got the enemy of shame. And God says, you know what? I'm not even going to wait until you have worked out all of your issues. I'm going to bless you even though you feel unworthy. I'm going to bless you even though you feel like a low worm. I'm going to bless you right in the presence of your enemies. The thing that says to you that, who am I, and makes you feel insecure, and you don't like the way your skin is or your hair or the size weight that you are, and you are self-loathing, and God says, you know what, I love you. You may not love yourself right now, but I'm in love with you. You are the apple of my eye. I'm going to bless you right in the presence of those enemies that are trying to talk you out of your blessing, that make you feel disqualified, that make you feel as though you've done something and that it was your fault, and you've got all of this stuff bottled up in you. And God says, listen, I'm not even going to wait until you have worked out all of your issues. I will bless you. I will prepare a table before you, and I'm going to bless you with all of these issues still in your life. I will bless you still feeling inadequate. I will bless you still feeling that you didn't come through the proper channels, and that you don't have the right levels of education, that you didn't go to the right schools. God says, I will bless you right in the midst of this thing, when somebody else has said nasty things to you and made you wonder who you are and whether you really feel good, whether you even belong here or not. But I'm still here, and God has set a table before you, and He chooses to bless you right in the presence of your enemies. He has chosen to bless you right in the presence of your enemy. And isn't it good to know that when you've gone through and you learn from life through the experiences that you have, that it's how you handle the middle of your life that determines your end, and not merely how your life began? You don't choose the way that you were born, but you do determine how you die. And some folks that are in this room right now, and some folks that are watching by television and by internet, you were a piece of work growing up. In your teenage years, your attitude, just your temperament, you know, your energy level, boy, your mouth. And if you looked at how you got started, that does not have to determine how you end. They are the choices that you make in the middle of your life that determine your end. And I'm so glad that God has been merciful to allow us to get to a place when you get around 30 years old, your desires change. And sometimes when you get around that age, you know, you realize that the stuff that your mom and dad had told you when you thought they were crazy and overbearing, and now you understand, because now you're doing some of the same thing that they might have done to you, you're doing it to your children. And it's amazing how God, in His infinite wisdom and His divine grace for us, allows us to make decisions in the middle of our life that will determine our end. Aren't you glad that God's not going to judge you based on the stupid thing that you did in the first 25 years of your life? I mean, that is shouting news. I mean, some of y'all did some wild, crazy, really edgy stuff. Your rebellion and all of that. And yet, had God let what you did in the first 25 years of your life determine how you end? But I'm so glad that God caught us in the back of our collars and arrested us and changed our lives. And in the middle years, my God, in the second third of your life, that it impacts the final third of your life, you have three different phases of life. The first third is your learning stage. The second third is your earning stage. Your third stage is your returning stage. Are you listening? And so I'm so glad that even when we were in the learning stage and we were rebellious students, that God allows something to transpire in us during the earning stage that impacts our returning stage. And maybe it was the rebellion that we did in the learning stage that endows us in the returning stage to be able to recognize other young folks that are just like we were. to be able to come and to speak with specificity into their life, because I understand your feelings and your attitude, and you feel like you're invincible and that you know it all, and that you got a right to be able to live your own expression of who you think you are. And it gives us an ability with the precision of a surgeon to come and to take our tongue and to speak words of life that will root out a seed of rebellion, which is as the sin of witchcraft operating in the lives of individuals. I'm so glad that God gives us an opportunity in the middle of life to determine the end of your life. Aren't you glad about that? What an awesome God we serve. We just bless him and honor him and love him. But I caution you in this area that sometimes wisdom comes through somebody that you don't like. So recognize it from whichever source that God chooses to send it. Because God can send wisdom to you through a young child who can barely talk. Recognize this is God without judging the person. God might use one of the most unlikely people in the world to speak the wisdom of God to you. I learn wisdom from everybody that I meet. I'm looking because I'm saying that there's a deposit of wisdom in this person's life, and I just want to recognize that this is a gift from God. This has nothing to do with this 2-year-old child who doesn't even know what they said to me. I recognize this is the voice of God. I've asked God for wisdom, and God is sending it through a babe. Are you listening? God can send it through somebody that you don't even like. He can send it through your former boss. He can send it through an ex-wife, an ex-husband, an ex-boyfriend, an ex-girlfriend. God can send them wisdom. They get mad with you, and then they're an ex, and then they're telling you about yourself. And you may not like the vessel. You may not like the person that he is sending it through, but just look for the wisdom. Just look for the wisdom. Because real treasure always is surrounded by dirt. And you got to be able to just blow the dirt so you can see the diamond, see the platinum, see the ruby, see the sapphire. You can't even see it if you're all concerned about the dirt that encapsulates the wisdom of God, that is like a precious jewel that comes. The Bible talks about digging for wisdom like you're digging for silver. Pursue it. Pursue it. It's the principal thing. Wisdom is the principal thing. Yes, wisdom is yours for the asking. And oftentimes your wisdom is a result of the questions that you've asked. And so I want to just look at at the 3 most common areas of life where we need wisdom. Number 1, money. Number 2, health. And number 3, relationships. You don't really have a money problem. You have a wisdom problem with money. Here's just some simple wisdom. This is money wisdom 101. Live beneath your means. Live beneath your means. Live beneath your means. Live beneath your means. Did I say live beneath your means? Live beneath your means. Live beneath your means. Live beneath your means. Here's something. Never lend what you cannot afford to lose. Never lend what you cannot afford to lose. If you cannot afford to lose it, listen, don't lend people your mortgage and your rent money. Don't lend anybody your car note money. If you need it, never lend what you cannot afford to lose. It's going to be God and himself, along with the 4 and 20 elders, need to have to come down to override that. You know? And there are some times that God will tell you, just it's a peculiar act of faith, but you better make sure that you know God. You better make sure that that's God talking to you. Never lend what you cannot afford to lose. Never lend. Never beg for that which you have the power to earn. It'll diminish you as a person when you start begging and asking other people to do for you what you have the power to do for yourself. Never buy on impulse. Never buy on impulse. I feel like this message is a day late and $1 short. Never buy on impulse. Always put needs over wants. Needs over want. You know what people often do? They beg, borrow, and steal what they need. They buy what they want and beg, borrow, and steal what they need. It's very interesting. But always put needs over wants. Needs over wants. Think about that now. N-O-W, needs over wants. And take time to ask yourself, is this a need or is this a want? Needs over wants. Here's some questions that you need to ask when it comes to money. What do I own? What do I own? Now that question ought to bring a revelation to you, because if you don't own anything, that ought to be a wake-up call to you. What do I own? What do I own? What do I own? Here's another question. What do I owe? I owe, it's off the work I go. What do I owe? What do I owe? You need to know what you owe. Then you need to ask, what do I earn? What do I earn? You need to be keenly aware of your earning power. It tells you something. You don't even know how to budget yourself if you don't realize how much you earn. Here's another question. Where is it going? You create a budget so you can tell your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. Where is it going? Where is it going? And then here's this question. How and where do I save or invest? How and where do I save or invest? These are questions. When you answer these questions, your wisdom will increase in that simple area. Now here's something about health. You don't have a health problem. You have a wisdom problem in regards to proper nutrition and exercise. Here's some simple things. Drink plenty of water. They say, I think you're supposed to drink, I don't know what it is, half your body weight. For some of you, that'll be 2 gallons. Drink plenty of clean water. Just plenty of clean water. Just irrigate with water. Our bodies are 3/4 water. The majority water. Just drink plenty of water. As they say as a general rule, I think about 8-ounce glasses of water a day. That's about a half a gallon. Some of you need a gallon. Drink plenty of water. Limit your fats, oil, and greases of all kinds. That stuff gets in your arteries, clog you up, have a heart attack, stroke, all of this kind of stuff. Make sure that you really limit, the intake of fats, greases, and oils of all kinds. Beware of the white stuff. White flour, white sugar, white salt. They're killers. They're killers. Beware of the white stuff. Consume it in moderation. And then eat as much organic fruits and vegetables as you possibly can. Ask yourself these questions when it comes to your health. Does this food produce health or disease in me? Everything that you eat, everything that goes into your system, it either produces health or it produces disease. Ask yourself that question. Does this produce health or disease in me? Ask, am I overindulging in the wrong kinds of foods? Am I overindulging in the wrong kinds of food? Ask, do I drink sufficient water? Ask, do I make time to periodically cleanse or detox my body? Ask, have I built a routine of exercise? Ask, am I allowing stress or worry to destroy my health? Then when you think about your relationships, you don't really have a relationship problem. You have a wisdom problem concerning your relationship. Wisdom is the principal thing, and all of you get understanding. Men, when a woman tells you her problems, it doesn't mean that she really wants you to solve them. She just wants you to listen. It means that I trust you enough with what's bothering me that I just want you to listen. She's not asking you to solve it. When a man will be sitting there, she's already talking about this woman that doesn't do her work in the office, and then she ends up having to pick up her slack. And when we men listen to that kind of stuff, we want to cut them off like, wait just a minute. Now I see your problem right here. Now you need to tell Helen that you ain't going to do her work. But she's not really asking you to solve the problem. She just wants you to listen to something that's frustrating her, that says, you know what, I trust you with what's dear to me. And I just feel bad. I need it to vent. I'm not looking for an answer. But our minds are wired differently. We want to solve it. It's like, you give me your problem, I'll tell you what to tell her right now. I can fix that right now. I don't need to hear anymore. She just wants you to hear what's bothering her. May I say, when it comes to relationship, you need wisdom concerning relationship. Don't judge all men or women based on the actions of the ones that you've been involved with. There are 7 billion people on the planet. And it's a tiny number of that 7 billion, and you're making some huge generalizations when you start including a whole gender of people because you've been involved with a few. And now you've got all of these other billions of people wrapped up by your own limited experience. If you don't like what you're attracting, change who you are, because water seeks its own level. We call it falling in love because nobody expects to fall. You never plan on falling, it just happens. It happens. You don't need a date, you need a mate. To continue to walk in love, you have to learn what to ignore. Learn what to ignore. There are certain things, if you're going to be able to walk in peace in your relationship, you got to learn what in the world you need to ignore. This is something for you ladies. A jealous husband does not doubt his wife, he doubts himself. It's so interesting. If you're in a relationship, you have to ask some certain questions, and here are some questions I want to give you. Despite what the other person does, do I respond properly? Despite what they do I respond properly? Could I have handled that better? Do I understand the person's background that moves him or her to behave the way that he or she does? Did I misinterpret what he or she did or said to me? We don't always hear what the other person says, we interpret. So you have to ask yourself the question, did I misinterpret what he or she did or said to me? And then ask yourself, how can I change myself to elicit a different response? Ask yourself, have I prayed sufficiently concerning the relationship? And ask, have I made the relationship more important than the issue that has happened? Have I made the relationship more important than the issue that has happened? You must ask yourself this question, am I expecting this person to meet a need for me that only God can really meet in my life? And then when it comes to relationship, you need to ask this question, is this a toxic relationship that I need to sever? But please be reminded that you never cut what you have the power to untie. Always try to salvage the relationship. And then you need to ask, have I forgiven what hurt me? You can go through some things in this life, and more than anything else, your relationships can hurt you. And if you get hurt in a certain place, it nails you to that place and you can't move from there. You have to always maintain a heart that forgives. To become greater than the person who has hurt you, who has wounded you, rise above them and find a place of forgiveness. It's the only way that you can be healed. And may I just remind you today that God has such a perfect heart of love and forgiveness toward us every time that we have failed Him, every time that we have missed the mark, every time that we let Him down and said that we weren't going to do certain things, and we found ourselves back at that same cesspool again. God loves you with a love that is inestimable and incalculable. He loves you with a love beyond measure that is incomprehensible to us. Bow your heads. If you're in this place today and you realize that your life is out of fellowship with the Lord Jesus Christ, you may have known Him at one time and now you've backslidden and gotten out of fellowship with God. Or you have lived on the periphery, just watching, close to the fire, but never really close enough to really warm yourself and give yourself fully to it. And you realize, I got hurt in my life and I blamed God and I became bitter and angry with God. Some of you need to forgive God for what you have held against Him and release it and let it go so that you can be healed. Some of you got to forgive yourselves because you blame yourself for being so stupid, for making such asinine mistakes. and you live your life and you hurt in pain, and it has caused you to put up walls, your heart to become callous so that you wouldn't get hurt again. But you don't really live until you know how to love. Some of you have never really known how to love openly and unashamedly. I know that all love involves a certain amount of risk because you could be hurt. But it is better to love and to lose than to have never loved. And today, to give you an introduction to the greatest love that there is and to allow God's healing grace, the healing balm, Jesus came and he died for the brokenhearted. It's part of the ministry of Jesus that he came to bind up the brokenhearted. You can make it all right if your money is funny. You can make it all right even if your health is impaired. But if your relationships are troubled, the money that you have and the health that you have mean nothing when the relationships have caused your life to be in turmoil. And it is through establishing relationship with the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, God as our Heavenly Father, that he'll allow you to forgive your earthly father. That he'll allow you to forgive a boyfriend, a husband, a wife, a mother, a son, a daughter, a brother, a sister, a cousin, a nephew, a niece, a grandchild that has hurt you and wounded you, a friend that you trusted.
Thank you for watching Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner. Until next time, God bless you.